Hello, welcome to another edition of Ask the Editor. Today I'm going to talk a little bit about what we call the process of getting to yes, the kinds of things that editors look for in manuscripts that encourage us to keep reading and hopefully to want to publish the book. One of the things we talk about a lot, it's a little hard to define, is a voice, an authentic voice, a voice that's yours. First, let me say that a lot of journalists who work with nonfiction, of course, don't necessarily have to have a voice. Theirs is more about fact and clean writing. When it comes to fiction, though, it really helps if you have a distinctive sound to your voice and something that will make you stand out from others. But it really should be your voice. Don't try to copy other writers. Try to find your own way into telling your story and make it sound as much like yourself as possible. Also, one thing that's very big for me, because it's so much a part of selling a book, is having characters that are relatable. And what I mean by this is that readers like to identify with the characters, like to feel like they know them, or they might even inhabit these people in some way, and they get involved with them more if they are relatable. Obviously, you're going to have some characters like the bad guy. Nobody wants to relate to the bad guy, but you need characters that readers can really get involved with and have a real relationship with. Also, it's important to get your story started really quickly, I think. When anybody tells me, oh, but once you get to page 50 it really takes off, it's like, oh no, we're not going to get there. Get your story going as quickly as you can. Get through the throat clearing in the first couple of pages. The book story has to be good from the beginning if you really want people to keep reading. It helps, of course, if you can come up with a premise that's totally original, but the truth is there are few things that are totally original anymore. But a premise that is not so familiar. So many times I start reading something and the voice may be different, or the characters' names may be different, but I realize I've really kind of read this story before. And this particular author's approach may not be quite fresh enough to make it come alive. You need to find a fresh way to come at a familiar story if you're going to make it yours and make it really work. Or you need to try to come up with something that really is, well, I hate to use the word unique, but something that is not like everything else out there. And if you think about the way the world keeps changing and the way societal things are changing now, there are fresh ideas out there all the time, especially if you look at the newspaper and look on TV and follow the news. There are all sorts of things happening every day that you would think, oh God, who could have thought that up? Well, if you could be ahead of the curve, if you could think it up first. Also, we look for what we call a universal audience. The goal, of course, the biggest books work this way. The goal is to have a book that you could give to your mother because you know she'd love it, to your father because he would enjoy it, to your wife or your husband, or to your best friend from school, whoever. You want it to be something that will appeal to as wide an audience as possible. If you have written, though, something that goes to a specific audience, let's say Algonquin does, for example, doesn't really publish mysteries. But if you've written something that is a mystery, then try to make it a pure mystery. Don't think, well, I'll throw in a little science fiction and a little maybe fantasy in this too, because you'll end up not finding the right place in the bookstore. And these are all things that we have to think about from the very beginning, because we have to go and sell the book. And when we go to a bookstore and say, this is a book that deals with food and travel and murder and it's set in Australia, you've got lots of spots in the store they could put it. You need to have an idea of where the book is going to go before you go in. And pacing in a book is also extremely important. It's one of the things that I harp on all the time, and one of the things I try to achieve in editing is to keep cutting everything down so that the story keeps moving. You want the reader to keep turning the pages. I'm not saying that every book has to be a page turner in the sense of thrillers, but you don't want the story to lag. You want to just keep the pace going, and we look for strong pace from right out of the gate. And finally, the one thing that it's hard to define, but length. You need to take as much time as possible to tell the story right. But the realities of this business is that if your novel comes in at 600 pages, it's going to be a little hard to sell because it's going to be priced at such a high price point that to launch a writer, that's really expensive. So the ideal length, I think, is what we say around 80,000 words, which I think comes in at around 300 manuscript pages normally. So think about the length, because if I open a manuscript and I see 600, 700, God forbid, 1,000 pages, it's got to be really, really great for me to go into it. Hope this has given you some ideas on what we're looking for, and we'll talk to you later.